Hello, and welcome back to MetalDisciple.com's Metalheads podcast. My name is George.
And I'm Buke.
And this is episode 5. So we weren't here last week. We had to take a week off due to reasons that kept us busy. More specifically, me. It's all my fault. Blame me. But we're back now. So you know how I was telling you how I like to look at the statistics for the website, see how many people are listening to the podcast and where they're listening from? Last time I mentioned it, we'd been listened to from 3 different countries.
Okay.
As of today, we've pulled in 12 different countries.
That's pretty cool.
Isn't it? I don't have the list in front of me, but obviously the United States, Canada, Mexico, Norway, Sweden, the UK, Colombia, Venezuela.
Wow.
Japan, Ukraine was another one.
That's so cool.
So to all those people out there, how you doing?
Yeah, truly, I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time. With there being so many options of things out there to listen to.
Certainly.
Thanks for just taking our podcast and just giving us a chance.
Yep.
Because I know, a lot of people's time is precious, so thanks.
Thank you very much. And please let us know what you think. Are we doing a good job? Are we doing a shit job? We haven't heard too much yet, although somebody did tell me the other day on YouTube that we were getting way too few views. I agree.
I saw that, yeah.
So we always talk a little bit about records, given our addictions to collecting vinyl these days. So I have a topic I wanted to cover that's sort of along that path. Why is it that record stores, like particularly used record stores, feel the need to take a price sticker and place it right on the cardboard vinyl, or not vinyl, but the cardboard cover of a record?
The sleeve itself?
The sleeve itself. Do you think you can pull that off and not rip off part of the cover?
I saw
it doesn't happen.
I was on eBay the other day where I'm buying a bunch of my records, and this beautiful Opeth record, they must, obviously they used the stock picture on eBay. It showed up to my house. I opened it, looking all nice. Open it up. There it is, that price sticker.
Yep.
Bright yellow.
Yep.
Smack dab on that Morning Rise record.
And I'm like, what? What kills me is that they'll put the sticker on the cover and then bag it. I'm like,
why not just put it on
the bag? Why do you have to destroy the album cover by putting the sticker on there? And I have an idea of why they do it.
Why do you think?
Because in the store, you can have, vinyl comes at drastically different prices, anywhere from $1 to $100. And so an unscrupulous shopper could take a $50 vinyl out of the bag and put it in a $1 bag.
Of course, yeah.
And buy it. And so I understand they want to make sure they get the correct price for something. But come on, there's got to be a better way than destroying the cover.
Speaking about that, going back to the price differences in vinyl, I walked into the store last weekend and I picked up a Municipal Waste record. $6 for, what's it?
Waste 'em all?
Waste 'em all. That's it. Yep. That was $6. You turn around, that Slayer, God Hates Us All record.
Yeah.
$25.
Yep.
I know obviously bands on 2 different levels, but the cost on vinyls are all over the place. So I could see why they would do that.
Sure.
They're trying to protect, shoplifters and stuff.
Yeah, you gotta take care of those things, but there's gotta be a better way.
Instead of ruining our precious vinyl covers, the sleeves.
I mean, you could shrink wrap the stupid thing and put the sticker on that and then put it in a bag.
That's a good way to do it.
I know a lot of the vinyl that comes from Europe, they don't shrink wrap over there. And so when you buy brand new vinyl, it comes unwrapped. But there's nothing to stop you from, putting a little shrink wrap around there, putting the sticker on there. But nope, too lazy.
Yep.
And so we get nice, pristine albums with a big chunk out of the corner where you had to try to peel off the sticker and it just didn't work.
No.
All right, well, let's get into some news stories for this week. A story this week near and dear to my heart was the fact that Triptykon was forced to cancel their Maryland Deathfest appearance. So the last couple of weeks, I've been looking around trying to find a ticket for last Thursday's show for the Triptykon show as part of the Maryland Deathfest. I hadn't been trying too hard because, I just hadn't been finding anything at a decent price. Yeah. So I was pretty bummed that I was going to miss them, and then I saw on the news, hey, Triptykon's canceling because H.R. Giger, the artist who did artwork for the Triptykon albums as well as...
Most famous for doing the Alien
Yes, he did the Alien from the movies, and most of the Celtic Frost albums as well. He died. He was a mentor to Thomas Gabriel Fisher, a friend, a close family friend, and so obviously he wanted to be there for the funeral and
for the family and everything like that.
So he couldn't make the show. That's a bummer, and our condolences to Thomas Gabriel Fisher and obviously the family of H.R. Giger. Guy did some incredible artwork.
Definitely the artwork where if you look at it, you know what you were looking at.
Yep.
That's it. Now, do you think Triptykon will come back to make up for it?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think they really come and play here. They, a lot of these bands at Deathfest, they only come over here to play at Deathfest. Mm-hmm. So who knows?
Do you think they could do a tour?
I think they could. I don't know if they will.
Yeah, I know a lot of talk. A lot of people, you love their album they released this year. Our friend, Chuck over at the Metal Sucks podcast loves that record. A lot of people would probably come out to see him.
I would think so. So another bit of news that has me, the last news didn't have me excited, but this piece does. There's been talk between Pepper Keenan and Corrosion of Conformity about getting back together to do a new album. COC actually has a new album coming out. I'm not sure, imminently. I know they just released a song from it called The Nectar. And it's the classic COC lineup. I like to think of it as the Animosity lineup. My very first Corrosion of Conformity album I bought on cassette in 1985. Animosity, real punk, hardcore, metal, crossover kind of thing. I bought that album and I didn't know what the fuck that was. I was like, holy crap, this is insane. Listening to it now, it's not quite so intense, but in 1985, that was pretty intense stuff. Stuff like Mad World and Holier and good stuff. So, I like the classic lineup, and I liked their last album. I'm sure I'll like this new album, but you gotta love Pepper. So,
whenever there's been times where Phil has had to sit out of a couple of down shows, and they get up there and they jam a bunch of songs from their various bands that they're all in. And a couple of times Pepper's played, COC songs. And it's really cool to hear him up there. And his voice is still...
I love his voice.
Yeah.
So cool.
It's great.
Yeah, so I'll be looking forward to that. I don't know if you've heard this yet, but there was another song off the new Priest album released this past week called March of the Damned. Have you heard that?
Mm-mm.
I listened to it. I listened to the first song, which I believe was the title track, was it? Redeemer of Souls. And I liked that when I heard it. And now when I listen to March of the Damned, I'm starting to wonder a little. It's a decent song, and I sort of like how it's kind of an older Priest style, as opposed to them trying to more fit the times. But it felt laid back. And I don't mean laid back like mellow. I mean, it didn't feel intense. It was like they were phoning it in.
Almost kind of like they're musically spent?
I don't know. I mean, I know they've got this young kid guitar player rather than KK Downing. Mm-hmm. But I just don't know how to describe it. I just didn't get the passion. It felt hollow.
Have you listened to any Halford solo work? I asked that because
of course
I've felt that about his solo work the last couple years. There was that one, Made of Metal. Mm-hmm. There's a race car on the front of it. It just sounds bland almost. Like it's just
lackluster is the word that I was just thinking. I was like, it's not like the song isn't good. It just feels like they're kind of just jamming it. They're not really like, yeah. They're just like, yeah, here we are. Here's the song. Pretty cool, huh? And it's not bad, but if the whole album's like that, I'm not sure what I'm going to think of that.
Well, what wasn't catching you? Was it Rob's singing that wasn't catching you? Was it the band as a whole?
Well, what I liked about his singing was that he wasn't going for all the really high notes. I would assume he can still hit them, but I as I mentioned recently, I kind of dig Rob's lower end, like on some of the Sad Wings of Destiny stuff. So I was glad to hear that. But yeah, he didn't seem like he was really trying to reach and not necessarily go high, but just in intensity. So I don't know. We'll see.
Apparently, there's a lot of talk surrounding that record that I've seen on Twitter that Rob and other people who've heard it giving press on it say that it's great return to form for them. So interesting to see how the record itself
I agree
sounds.
I guess we'll see. Another thing I saw this week was that the Ronnie James Dio tribute, This Is Your Life, is getting a double vinyl release. I've already pre-ordered my copy. What about you?
Didn't even know that there was.
Oh, really?
Wow.
got one up on you.
Wow, didn't even.
Red vinyl. Yep. It comes out, I think in June. And yeah.
Thanks for sharing, buddy.
Yeah, no problem. Gee, I didn't know about that. Well, I got mine, so that's all that's
good luck, right? Wait, do you know where I can get that from? Where
I actually pre-ordered it from Amazon. Yeah. I don't remember how much it was. I want to say it was...
Must be nice.
It's Amazon. You can go pre-order it.
Okay, I can.
So another thing I saw in the news this week is that James Hetfield of Metallica is going to narrate a TV series called The Hunt on the History Channel, which is about hunting Kodiak bears. What?
What?
I know James likes to go to Siberia and hunt things, but...
So is James the 2014 Ted Nugent?
The winner of 2014 Ted Nugent Award is James Hetfield.
He has a great voice.
Yeah. I mean, I like to listen to him talk, so I guess it makes sense. I almost want to watch it just to see what it's like. Should be interesting.
Maybe they could drop in some riffs on there, or they're shooting bears.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll play any Metallica music.
Gonna spice it up.
Probably not. So some other sad news this week. Dave Ellefson, bass player for Megadeth, his brother passed. He lost his battle to cancer this past week. Our condolences go out to Dave and his family. I also saw there was a new Fozzy album coming out this year. It's called Do You Want to Start a War? What do you think of Fozzy?
Heard a track years ago.
Really?
I know, Jericho.
Yeah, Chris Jericho, the wrestler, is the singer.
I know when I used to listen to the Eddie Trunk show on satellite radio a lot, he was always talking about them always having, Jericho in studio. I've never really taken the time to listen to him.
I have to give some kudos to Jericho. I don't know if you recall, it was like a year or so ago, I did a review of the last Fozzy album, and I basically took myself to task because two things about the band. First of all, they're called Fozzy. I think of Fozzy the Bear, the Muppet, okay?
That's what I thought of.
Apparently, it had something to do with, they started out doing Ozzy covers or something, and so it was a joke. But this band's no joke, let me tell you. And, of course, the other reason that made me question the band's value was that Chris Jericho is a pro wrestler. Not that there's anything wrong with pro wrestling, but, he's already got a career. It's like, movie stars making albums, and you're like, yeah, whatever, don't quit your day job.
Like Russell Crowe.
30-odd foot of grunts. And so I never gave it a lot of attention. I mean, I liked, I think, the guy from Stuck Mojo, Richward, but I never really gave it a lot of attention. So I got the last album for review, and I reviewed it, and I was like, wow. And I had to beg Jericho for forgiveness because it was really impressive. He's one of those people that he has more than one talent that he does well. I've never watched him wrestle, not into wrestling, but he obviously does that well. He's well known for it, and he can sing, and his band they do good stuff.
Would you, not listening to them, are they hard rock?
No, I mean, it's definitely got a heavy metal vibe to it. It's, I wouldn't call it as heavy as thrash, but it's definitely, I'd put it heavier than like Avenged Sevenfold or something like that.
Is it all just clean vocals, clean singing?
Yeah.
That'd be great if he just rips out some death growls.
That would be different. And what actually inspired me to give that last album a fair shake was watching him on that metal show. And it came across how much metal knowledge he actually has. He's actually a really big metal fan. He's not just, I'm a metal fan, yeah, whatever. He actually knows his shit. And so he earned my respect there. And then again, when I listened to the album. So I'll actually be looking forward to hearing this. I saw that John Schaefer of Iced Earth is going to be having neck surgery in September. Sounds like the rigors of the road and whatnot. Jason Newsted disease.
Or for being rude or an asshole to people, from what we've heard, maybe.
Okay, you went there.
No, I'm saying maybe, from being so tense, always angry. Maybe he pulled a muscle or something.
Yeah, something.
Because he's always in the media. Apparently, I remember years ago he was always in there for, him and Matt Barlow were always going back and forth. Apparently, yeah, he runs that band with an iron fist.
Yeah, he's definitely a dictator from what I hear. Whether that makes him an asshole, I can't say until I actually meet the guy. But yeah, that is a reputation that he has.
He certainly could be extremely nice.
Could be. And, he's made some good music over the years.
Oh, without a doubt.
Either way, whether he's an asshole or not, hope he feels better.
Exactly.
Last time you mentioned Vitarium, that band featuring Leif Edling from Candlemass and the singer Jenny. And I just wanted to point out that they've got a new EP coming out later this year. Doesn't have a name yet as far as I know, but...
Do you have that pre-order too?
Not yet, no. I can't pre-order it until it has a name. Another bit of news I saw is that King Diamond and Judas Priest have been confirmed for Fun Fest in Austin, Texas. I'd never heard of this before, and I looked at it, and it appears like they have different stages and different days, and like there's a metal stage, and then like really bad music stages. I probably wouldn't have even mentioned this if it weren't for the fact that it's King Diamond. King's had health issues the last few years or so, and I think this is going to be the year where he makes a comeback, so welcome back, King.
Just speaking about fests, I don't know if you have it in the news. Did you see about the Riot Fest? I'm not sure which city it's taking place in, but the strange thing about this fest, did you see GWAR in some fashion is still playing this Riot Festival?
The only thing I knew with GWAR was that they were going to be playing at the GWAR-BQ.
Oh, they're playing it there. These festivals get announced for these summer things, and there's 100 bands or something,
right?
Or this one Riot Festival, GWAR's on there. When they were asked about it, the concert promoters or the people putting on the show said, "Yeah, in some way, GWAR's going to be there."
Interesting. I wonder if they'll have a guest vocalist or if they'll just somebody else will pick up the mic, and maybe it was already booked, and the promoter was just like, play however you can, Yeah.
Now, do you see GWAR on that quick note? Do you see GWAR being able to go on at all?
I can't imagine how. I mean, Dave Brockie was
GWAR,
the heart and soul of GWAR.
Yeah, and after the other band member die a couple years back, also, I don't know how many original members there are.
Yeah, well, maybe the guy from All Shall Perish could join them when he's not too busy with Suicide Silence,
filling in those spots, huh?
Yeah. So last time I also talked about the new release from Agalloch. And at the time, you hadn't really listened to them too much, but you told me the other day that you listened to it and you were digging it.
I was really digging it. Really. I will be the first to admit black metal for me, the growling vocals and stuff like that have always been hard for me to get into.
Right.
I don't know why. I just really can't connect with it.
Does it make your vagina hurt?
Mostly. It's the modern sound that like Dimmu has evolved into, the real symphonic.
Yeah.
I got into that in a big way. When Death Cult Armageddon came out,
sure,
I got into that in a big way. But like a lot of your purer black metal sounds, I really never hooked me. This, I don't know what it is.
It's the pleasing sounds of nature
that's a great way to put it.
It fills in the filler between the black metal tracks.
It's just, it doesn't have that symphonic, obviously Dimmu sound, but it's
atmospheric, folky, woodsy kind of stuff.
That's it. Yep. So I've been really listening to that.
Cool. Yeah, I just got Marrow of the Spirit on double vinyl. Yes. And I've been looking for the new one, but...
I looked for it after I couldn't find it.
It doesn't look like it's been released on vinyl yet, so we'll see. So some other new releases coming out this week. There's Black Anvil and their new album, Hail Death. Have you heard these guys?
No.
Yeah, it's probably not your type. But it's pretty raw, blackish, deathish. I don't know, that's such a gray area sometimes, but... It's pretty raw. It's cool. I've heard some of the other stuff, and I've actually heard some of this album, and from what I've heard, I dig it. So I know you're going to want to hear this one, the new Crowbar coming out, Symmetry in Black.
Yes, I'm a big Kirk fan.
I just downloaded the promo this morning. I've not had a chance to listen to it yet, but I will definitely be doing it.
I heard an interview he gave to the Metal Sucks guys on their podcast.
Blatant plug.
Yeah. What a classy man.
Yeah, he's cool.
Left down because one, the rigors of the road, he just was almost kind of done with. But two, he just wanted to spend more time with his family, more time with his kids.
Yep. Can't fault that.
Can't fault that at all. Crowbar has always had a following, while not big. it's allowed him to kind of take the reins and, because, Down's a machine.
Yeah.
Down was, touring every day, every other night. So he can kind of pull back. Crowbar just played Maryland Death Fest.
Yep. Wish I'd seen that too.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Elven King?
Yep.
It's a power metal band. I thought you might have. They've got a new album coming out called The Pagan Manifesto. I haven't listened to these guys in quite a while. As I've mentioned lately, I haven't been as much into power metal, though I'm looking to change that. But I listened to these guys years ago, and I recall that they were pretty cool.
Yeah, for those fans of you who are power metal fans and in this kind of pagan power metal, Elven,
right?
It's that classic sound. I can't think of another band that goes with it, but a kind of folky type of background.
Cool. Now I know you haven't heard this band, but they're called Emptiness.
No,
they're from Belgium. I reviewed their last album called Error, and I liked that a lot. It's a real kind of raw, not as produced black metal, Black Death kind of thing. It's not poorly produced, it's just not overproduced. But anyway, they've got a new album called Nothing But the Whole, and actually the band features a couple members from Enthroned, who you may have heard of them. Mm-hmm. So I haven't heard this one yet. It's coming out this week. I'm definitely picking it up. Perhaps you've heard of this band, I Hate God.
Jimmy Bower?
Yeah. So their long-awaited new album, self-titled new album, drops this week, despite the loss of their drummer last year. You going to be listening to this one?
I'll check it out. To be honest, I will check it out. I haven't listened to too much of them. Of course, I know who they are.
You've been getting into sludge lately.
Yeah, I really have.
So,
yeah. I'll probably check it out.
I've listened to a little bit of it. I've got the promo for that as well. I've just been so busy that I haven't been able to listen to it. But I'm sure that's going to be pretty awesome. What about Misery Index? You know those guys? They have a new album out called The Killing Gods. I know I've heard them before, but I'm not real.
I'm same like you. I could be way wrong, but when I hear Misery Index, I kind of think of like a Pig Destroyer type of sound, maybe.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't remember.
The fact that I recognized their name was enough to me to be like, hey, give it a shout.
Yeah, somebody was going to probably scream at the radio when they hear me saying,
they're not like Pig Destroyer at all, you dumbass. All right, well, another one I know you're going to like, because I know I'm going to like it. The new Sabaton, yes. Heroes.
Yes. This is one of those bands that when you first turned me on to them, instantly hooked me.
Yeah.
Instantly. There's another power metal. All their bands talk about historical World War I,
like World War
II type of stuff. Great sound. A little cheesy.
But that's the power metal way.
Yes, it is.
Okay, another album coming out. This is another sludge album. A band called Serpentine Path. And their new album, Emanations. Have you heard these guys?
Mm-mm.
No?
But you're talking to me now. My current musical trend right now.
Yeah, I got their last album. I reviewed it. I also picked it up on vinyl. It's, if you like heavy, thick, loud, crunchy, sludgy metal, then check it out. It's good stuff. This last new release this week, pardon me when I butcher their name, I believe it is Von Helgt, and the album is called Relics of Sulfur Salvation. They're a death metal band, I think, based on, that's what they were labeled as, but when I listened to it, it was, it could be like really more old school death metal, but it was like death metal with a real black influence, a little more atmospheric. Listening to the promo, I've been digging it a lot, so I'm probably going to give them a bit more attention. Definitely should check them out. So, what have you been listening to this week?
Well, in my current trend of sludgy, music, I took a break to check out a band that Matt, the lead singer of Trivium, posted on his Facebook a couple weeks back, maybe a month back ago. It's the Norwegian kind of melodic death metal band In Vain.
Okay, I know them.
Their album Enigma.
Cool.
Great record. I kind of put it as, if you're a fan of Trivium, almost think of it just in the vein as Trivium, but with heavier vocals.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes slightly growly kind of black metal style.
Right.
But then they go into those catchy choruses, the singing that I think Matt from Trivium does exceptionally well.
Right.
So that's what I've been listening to there.
Excellent. That makes me want to... I know I have the album. I need to go back and listen to it again.
It's great.
So many things zip by my attention, and I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of cool, but then it's gone.
Yep.
So, yeah, thanks. When we do these things, I know you say how I give you things that you listen to, but you give me things that I go back and check out as well. Saviors, for example.
Yes.
All right, well, I've been listening to a band from Italy called Witches of Doom. I just happened across these guys. I listened to a little clip from their video for the song Needless Needle. And right away, I was like, whoa, the really deep Peter Steele-esque vocals. I was like, oh, wow. And I listened to that a little more, and I looked them up. I'm like, okay, they're from Rome. Their influences are Typo Negative, Moonspell, and then non-metal acts like The Cult, Sisters of Mercy, even Depeche Mode. So listening to that, I bought the album on the strength of Needless Needle. Then when I listened to it, it wasn't as metal as I thought it was going to be. There's a definite more, I don't want to say commercial, but accessible sound to it. But it's still really cool. I mean, the vocals, End of Green is another band that it kind of reminds me of.
Oh, they were great, yeah.
And it's kind of stoner doom / goth. So there's more rock-ish type moments, but the vocals are always really cool. And then they get into these heavier metal moments, and I dig it. So I think people
What was that band's name again?
Witches of Doom. The album's called Obey. You can get it on iTunes. That's where I got it.
Did you get the vinyl?
Not yet. Don't know if there is one.
The album I mentioned is on vinyl.
So I've been reading this black metal book I mentioned a few episodes ago. It's taken me a long time. I'm a slow reader. Called Black Metal Evolution of the Cult. And there's a chapter on bands being true cult or not. You know, when black metal got popular, there was a lot of people screaming, "You're a sellout." And then there were a lot of bands going even in the further direction of like, we don't want people to listen to our music. We're going to make 30 copies of it and only give it to our friends, and because we are the true underground. And I got to tell you,
we're going to make a record and then we're going to destroy the master recordings.
Exactly. And, you know, you read this stuff and you're like, people take a good idea and they shit all over it. They just don't get it. And I've never been one of those people that says, oh, well, this scene is so dead and I only like the bands from 5 years ago because they were true and the bands now, they're shit. I'm not one of those people. If it's good music, it's good music. And reading about these bands, it just became so clear how stupid people can be.
Yeah, it seems, I haven't read a lot of the history like you have, but what I have read, it seems like especially black metal, those early black metal bands were fighting it out to always one up the next.
And, you know, you talk to any of the people from the early black metal bands now, you know, the ones that are still alive, and they've either made it or gone away, with the exception of Fenris and Darkthrone and whatnot. But all those early bands, they had a code and an aesthetic that ruled how they lived their lives and the music they created. But they still wanted to be rock stars. They still wanted their music to be heard. And one theme that I keep hearing is that black metal music has a message. Depending on the type of band, a different message. But, you know, a common theme is Satan, death. We want to rain down badness upon the world through our music. Goofy as that may be. But, you know, it has a message. And what's the point of having a message if nobody's going to hear it?
That's a great way to look at it.
And so I'm reading this thing, and, you know, the black metal icons are kind of shaking their head going, what's the point of having a message if nobody's going to hear it? They're being underground for the sake of being underground because they think that just being underground makes them cool and makes it more special. I'm like, no.
It makes you irrelevant.
It makes you irrelevant and obscure. Yes. Nobody cares.
And then you end up in some record store and we're flipping by you because we don't know who the heck you are.
Which we wouldn't even do because only 30 copies of your record was made and nobody has one. If you make good music, people should hear it. It doesn't, just because a lot of people like it doesn't mean that it's commercial. It just means that it's good. There are certainly acts that pander to corporate interests and record labels And those bands certainly do suck. But just because a band is big does not mean that they sell out and that they suck. Dimmu is a great band.
Opeth. My number one band. You look, their last album a couple years back sold 50,000 copies or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're bad.
Yeah. And so it just boggles my mind that people take this good idea and they just twist it and go down this bizarre path of thinking that just makes no sense and is just self-defeating and pointless.
Do you think that's something that just black metal bands do?
Well, probably not, but, black metal is pretty well known for their
infighting
and their touchiness on the whole true cult.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But speaking of bands that a lot of people haven't heard of, let's get into our Unsigned Bands segment.
I'm just going to say this right now. This band, you told me, Buke, check this out. You're going to like this. 12, 13 years being best friends. You know my style as well. When you said, just check this out, you're like them, with Opeth being my favorite band, you couldn't be more correct.
Hell yeah. This is the band Twilights Embrace from the UK, and their album By Darkness Undone. These guys emailed me, I don't know, back in April, I think it was, maybe even end of March. They asked me to review the album. I gave it a quick, just a little bit of a listen just to see if it was, going to be something I wanted to hear. Right away, I was like, holy crap, this is some good stuff. This is like Death Doom, although not exactly Death Doom. There's certainly heavy music, sometimes slow and heavy, harsh growling vocals, pretty typical of Death Doom. But not so typical of Death Doom are the clean vocals. And there's some really good clean vocals.
Well.
Yeah, it's really well done clean vocals on this album. And as soon as I listened to the whole album, I was like, wow, I cannot believe these guys are unsigned.
Just what I was about to say. It's amazing that these guys are not signed.
These are one of the bands that have kicked off my whole, do we need record labels anymore? Because as amazing as this album sounds, why would you bother with it?
And I'll tell you, for being unsigned, the sound that they put out, the quality, it sounds like a band that's signed to a major label. Just like going back to our last episode.
Yep. This is definitely going to be one of my top albums of the year. Hands down, no way around it. So without further ado, why don't we listen to a song from the album? This is the album's opening track, The Dry Land.
Empty and hollow.
All right, that was Twilight's Embrace and the opening track from their album By Darkness Undone. That was The Dry Land.
I'm going to say it again. If two things we ask of you. One, give our show a listen and let us know what you think. But two, check those guys out.
Yeah, and if we mention a band on here, they're definitely worth checking out. If we're playing their music on here, putting our money where our mouth is, so to speak, here it is, check it out. How can you not love this?
You explained it on the first episode, but people need to understand with somebody like yourself hearing thousands upon thousands of records. When you get this excited for something, people, trust me, check it out.
Definitely. So I was listening to the Metal Sucks podcast the other day, one of the older episodes. Actually, I think it was their first episode of the year, and Godless was making predictions for 2014. And one of the predictions was that the old guard of metal was going to die off in a big way this year. He was like, Tony Iommi's going to go, Lemmy's going to go. That was pretty disturbing to listen to, honestly. It's possible. Hopefully it won't happen. But it got me thinking, the fact that, when I was a kid and you'd see that some musician of some kind had died on the news, they were like old and nobody'd heard of them in 30 years. And it was like, oh, that person died. Huh.
Sing that song back. I remember when I was at.
And yet now, at least with metal, and what my point here is, I think that metal has been so enduring and relevant for 40 some odd years. Metal musicians don't fade away and then die. They keep going right up until the time they drop. God forbid Tony or Lemmy were to kick off this year, but I think 13 is obviously an example that Tony Iommi is still relevant and very much in the public consciousness. Lemmy's always been there. And I just think that's pretty cool that metal guys don't fade away. They just keep making more metal.
Or, unfortunately, they go out while they're still putting out killer music.
Yeah.
Chuck?
Yes, of course.
When I bought that Bathory album the other day, that singer passed away, when he was 38, 39?
Yeah, Corthon.
Yep.
Sure, obviously it sucks when people are cut off too young, but it's nice that...
Yeah, it's nice that us as metal are the pioneers for the most part. Your Halford, your Iommi, your Ozzy. They're still
doing their thing.
Still doing their thing, Lemmy.
Yes, I mean, some people might say they're not on the top of their game, but I think in many ways, some of them are. I mean, again, Tony Iommi, my example. I know some people oddly didn't care for 13, but for me, that was an incredible release. And anything Lemmy does is always going to be interesting. So it's really cool that we don't just throw away our old musicians and only listen to the new, that we have a healthy respect for and keep the careers alive of the, like you said, the pioneers and the old guard.
That's an interesting point you just said, because I look at what my wife listens to, and what obviously most of the country is pop music. I know. You and I don't listen to it. I couldn't tell you what the top songs are in the country right now if there was $1,000 on the line.
My wife always is incredulous. She'll be like, you don't recognize this song? I'm like, no, I've never heard this song. And she'll say somebody who is apparently well known. I'm like, I've never even heard of them.
Yep, same for me. If it doesn't play at a Caps game, or so I'm not hearing it. But I remember growing up hearing pop music and hearing these artists come. It seems like these other genres, boom, you make that quick flash, you're relevant for a second, goodbye. You're just gone like that.
Yep, flash in the pan.
Yep, but not metal.
Nope. Something else I wanted to talk about. I saw something else in the news actually this week. I didn't mention it in the news, but bands releasing booze. And I think this might actually tie into something you wanted to talk about.
Yep.
But, Iron Maiden released a beer.
Which I passed on when I had the opportunity to buy it.
I so want to try that. Motorhead has a wine, and now Running Wild has a mead. So you haven't tried any of these, obviously.
I had a chance to buy that Trooper, and I passed on it.
I can't believe that.
Red Fang now, in fact, this little side note, asterisk, they just released a hot sauce.
That sucks. They're encroaching upon my territory. I want to release my heavy metal hot sauces.
Yeah.
I've been making my own recipes of hot sauces. My favorite one I call Exit Wound.
Nice. I like that.
So hot it gives you an exit wound.
I like that.
So yeah,
crap, someone's going to trademark it now.
I know. That's Trademark, metaldisciples.com, exit wound hot sauce.
And what's his name? The guy from Anthrax has a coffee.
I thought Aerosmith guy had a coffee.
A couple of them do. I think Zakk Wylde does.
Really?
But I can't remember his name.
It's interesting. On one hand, it's like, well, these artists are leveraging their name in a very commercial way. But on the other hand, beer.
Yeah. I'm sure, Kiss probably has a stout, a fucking lager.
Even though they don't drink.
Yeah, exactly. A whiskey, anything that he can brand their name to.
Yeah, well, they got toilet paper and, everything.
Every
Kiss logo
thing
on there, yeah. Anyway, I thought that was interesting.
That is cool.
I definitely would like to try some of these out.
And apparently it sold really well. The Iron Maiden one sold extremely well. So
excellent.
Which actually would lead me into what I wanted to talk about this week also. So while we're talking about, bands releasing beers, I wanted to mention a book that I picked up and a supporter of the Metal Disciple podcast here. So while we're talking about beer, I wanted to talk about a book that I picked up by, pardon me, I'm going to screw it up here, Adam Tepodelen. Again, excuse me, I'm sorry for screwing up your name. Thank you for also supporting our show here. This is your book, The Brutal Truth Guide to Extreme Beers.
Nice.
He is a writer at Decibel.
Okay.
What he has taken here is in Decibel every month he does a little...
I've seen it.
Yeah,
a column.
A column on a beer and stuff like that. And sometimes he does band interviews. What this book is here, you and I are both big craft beer guys. Mm-hmm. He takes the most extreme, heavy, like 9%, 8%, 10%, and he pairs them. Hey, like this is the most extreme stout. Right. Here's a list of them. He writes up a nice, flavor profile of them, and nothing, super fancy. There's little notes of rose petals here, and he just writes it like you and I were writing beer reviews.
Nice.
Writes up, gives a nice description on them, and then gives a little blurb in there. Hey, drink this while listening to Immortal. Drink this, while listening to Pantera Walk. Stuff like that.
That's awesome.
So again, this is the Brutal, that's BREWTAL, Brutal Truth Guide to Extreme Beers. It's available on Amazon ebooks as well, and the actual physical book. And if you message him on Twitter at Brutal Truth, you can actually order a signed book from him.
Nice. I'm going to have to check that out too. Why don't we go ahead and move on to our classics of the week?
So, Maryland Death Fest is this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
We had touched off on new releases coming out. Thursday, Crowbar performed.
Right.
And I wanted to give a little nod to Maryland Death Fest. I was torn between Crowbar or At the Gates. So I went with Crowbar for my classic this week.
Nice.
Their 1993 self-titled release.
Okay.
Crowbar. Produced by Phil Anselmo.
Cool.
This record saw some MTV. I don't remember it. You probably do. Saw some play on MTV. The track All I Had.
So long ago.
Yep. Just classic sludgy Crowbar sound. Probably Crowbar at their best in a lot of people's eyes. This or their first one.
Awesome.
So that's my classic album this week. Crowbar self-titled.
My album this week is Chaos AD by Sepultura. I was driving home from work the other day, and the guy, I can't remember if it had to be Liquid Metal, was talking about the new guy.
Jose?
No, it wasn't Jose. I think it was somebody filling in for Jose. And he was talking about the new Godzilla movie and how he was a big Godzilla fan, and he saw the movie, and he was like, it wasn't that good. But anyway, because of that, he played Biotech as Godzilla, and I fucking love that song. So I was headed to the gym after that. I got on Spotify and downloaded Chaos AD and Arise, and I was listening to those at the gym, and it really took me back. I'm a child of the 80s. Actually, I'm a child of the 70s, but I grew up in the 80s, and I've actually had several stages of my metal development. In the early 80s, I was listening to Ozzy and Quiet Riot and Twisted Sister and Dio and things like that. And then the thrash metal movement came along, and I started listening to Metallica and Slayer and Megadeth. And then, of course, in the 90s, death metal and black metal took off. And that was a rough transition for me at times. In the late 80s, I listened to some Venom and some Possessed, Bathory, and of course, Death. but it wasn't really what I really liked listening to. And so when the harsh vocals of death metal and black metal came along, it took me a while to transition, to get it, if you will. And there were a number of albums that helped me make that transition. And Sepultura was one of those bands. When Arise came out in 1991, I think I probably heard Dead Embryonic Cells on Headbangers Ball, and I was like, yes! And so I was really digging that. But 1993 was a big year for me. I mean, you're probably just...
I was 10.
Yeah, you were 10. So, but in 1993, Chaos AD came out. That cemented the fact that I was a huge Sepultura fan. It's too bad they only put out one more album, and then that cover band took over.
Yeah.
But also around this time, in 92, they had Fear Factory's Soul of a New Machine. That blew my mind. Also in 93, Carcass Heartwork, Entombed, Wolverine Blues.
Wow, what a big year.
All those albums helped me transition into the new metal order of things. And that, I want to talk about the Sepultura a little bit more before I go off topic, which I almost did, but I'll get back to that. But Chaos AD was just such a killer album. Territory, Propaganda, Biotech is Godzilla, and oddly, one of my favorite Sepultura songs, We Who Are Not As Others. You familiar with that one?
I've heard it, yep.
It's not a typical song. It's not one that draws a lot of attention to itself. It's a relatively short song, and it only has 6 words. We Who Are Not As Others. I don't know why it is, but that song just gets me. Everything about this song is implied. He just says the lines, we who are not as others. You know, there's a musical intro that kind of builds, and then Max is just like, we who are not as others. And it builds, and then he's like, we who, and he's screaming it. And then at the end, it's like this gang vocal of like hundreds of people all chanting, we who are not as others. And this is one of those songs that defines metal for me. One of the things that I've always loved about metal is the fact that it's for people who aren't like everybody else. You find solace in the music. You're not like everybody else. I've never been like anybody else. I've never fit in anywhere. I still don't. But I've always had metal. And that's been key to my love of metal all these years, and why I'm so obsessed with it is that metal is mine.
Yes.
The fucking jocks in high school, the fucking bullies on the playground, the asshole boss, not that I have one right now, but throughout your entire life, there's always people that are going to shit on you. And those people, thank God, probably aren't into metal. And so no matter what's going on, you've got that to fall back on. You're like, fuck the world. I've got my metal. That's going to get me through. And so the song, We Who Are Not As Others, it crams all of that into 6 words. I'm not like you.
Man, you're getting me excited. I want to go out and freaking conquer the world right now.
I am not like you, but I am fucking awesome. We who are not as others, we are relevant, and we're going to fucking kick your ass.
Yeah, man. I'm ready. Dude, you just gave me the best pregame talk ever.
We who are not as others.
Let's go.
So yeah, that song fucking just...
Man, let's go charge into battle. Man.
Song gives me goosebumps. I was listening to it at the gym, like I said, after driving, and that song came on, and I'm on the treadmill trying like hell not to squirt tears out my eyes because that song moves me so much.
Man, I'm pumped up. I love it. Yes. It's the best moment of the podcast, on the episode so far.
Hell yeah. So check out Sepultura, check out Chaos AD, and definitely check out We Who Are Not As Others.
If you're, younger guy, teens, early 20s, you might have missed this record. You have to check it out. It's, when they say one of the top 10, 20 metal albums of all time, it's one of them. Easily.
It definitely is. Arise is quite good too.
Yes.
And of course, Roots is good, and I'm not, actually, Beneath the Remains is actually one of my favorites as well. I'm not as familiar with the first couple. Something I've been meaning to rectify and just haven't gotten around to yet. So I accidentally skipped over our top 3 albums from a band segment. Sorry about that. We'll do this a little bit out of order. This week's band is Sentenced. Hit me.
I am really excited for this, for your responses. Sentenced is, how would you describe them genre-wise for people who are not familiar with them?
Depressive. Fuck, I haven't really thought about what kind of music they are.
The Sentenced, the modern day Sentenced that they evolved into after their first couple albums is...
They started off as death metal,
yes.
and they went in a little more gothic direction almost. Not like, face paint and Marilyn Manson gothic, but I mean...
Kind of like... I can't think of a genre or a way to describe them, but just like you said...
Melodic death metal almost, but...
Yes, exactly. Take out the growling vocals. So, my top 3 sentenced albums. Number 3, Crimson.
Mm-hmm.
This has the killer track, Killing Me, Killing You.
Gotta love that song.
I love that song. Number 2 is my introduction to the band, The Cold White Light.
Nice.
That album. You want to see an album that could bring me to tears. You just listen to the song. All their songs are, they're not happy songs.
Not at all.
Not by any
Suicide
stretch.
metal. That's a good way to describe them. Suicide metal.
Yes, they're about, life and death and loss.
And love and death.
Yeah, very touching. I can't believe I'm saying that to describe a metal band.
They're from Finland, by the way, so
yes.
That's why. That's not why, but, it's not surprising that it's cold, dark, depressing.
My number 1 sentenced album is their live album.
Really?
The Funeral album. That's their last studio album.
Buried Alive.
Buried Alive, I'm sorry. Interesting thing about Sentenced is Sentenced, never really saw, to the best of my knowledge, a lot of success here in the States. No, it's interesting.
Definitely not here.
Reason being, I mention them to other people still, message boards or at concerts and stuff like that, and people always look at me still, and you're like, who?
Yeah, I just don't get it.
But Sentenced, what's it, maybe 4 or 5 years now, decided not because they were having, as we know, that they were having any infighting or they were having any issues between the band members. It wasn't made public if there was, that I remember.
Mm-hmm.
But they just decided, Villa and the rest of the guys decided that while we're at the top of our game, we're going to bury this band, to put it in sentence terms.
You know how long it's actually been? You said, what, like 3-4 years? It's been 9 years since the Funeral album.
What?
2005.
Wow.
Time flies.
Wow, that's just, wow. So they were at the top of, if you ask me, the top of, I think every album was just getting better and better and better. And they just decided, hey, while we're here, let's just bury this right now.
Yeah.
But like as they put it in some of the songs, it's better to go out on top than to fade away into nothing. So why I say that this is my number 1 album is because, like I've said a couple of times, I love live recordings and live albums because you hear the emotion.
Yeah.
The thing that makes this my number 1 is because this concert was filmed actually for a DVD that goes along with this CD.
Yeah.
And the emotion that you see from Villa and you see from the band, to me, is unmatched because this is the final show that they ever played, taped and filmed. The second to last song, he's actually crying. Almost. Maybe you probably want to maybe say it's sweat, something.
Yeah.
But you see a man on stage and the band who knows that it's over now. Everything that Sentenced was. Now, of course, he went on to do Poison Black to join them.
Yeah.
As the singer after being the guitarist.
And unfortunately, Mika, the guitar player, passed away as well, so there's probably not much of a chance of a reunion.
But I know I'm trying to find the right word, but just the emotion of seeing something that they almost, if you ask me, they had no reason to stop.
No, it blew my mind. It crushed me.
Yeah, and they had no reason to stop. And you see them on stage. The visual for this makes it also more my number 1. Is that you see the emotion that they have, and you hear it in the singing. So
when we saw them.
Yes,
that's another story. We'll get to that.
So my number 1 sentenced album is Buried Alive, and if you check out the DVD as well, it kind of hammers home my point.
I've got it on vinyl.
You bastard.
All right, so my top 3, in order for you.
Thank you.
My number 3 album is Amok. That was the last album with the original singer. I'm not going to... Tonelli? I swear I cannot pronounce Finnish names.
I'll be honest. His vocals to me,
never cared for him.
No.
Amok is such, it really is a good album. I mean, ultimately it paved the way for Vile to come in and on the next album take the band to a whole new level. But Amok was in itself a good album, and I wanted to recognize
and I'll be honest,
that lineup.
When he's in that lineup, I've tapped out. I don't listen to it.
He's on Buried Alive too.
I know he is. I skip over those.
All right. Well, my number 2 album is also your number 2 album, The Cold White Light. This was tough because this could have been my number 1. The songs on this album are just phenomenal. The lyrics they're very personal. Songs like, the
last track.
No One There. Yeah, that's pretty...
It talks about growing old and dying alone.
Yeah. So depressing. Everything is Nothing. That song. That's a song that makes me cry.
My favorite metal song of all time is actually on that album. Everything is Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like, everything people say you're going to amount to nothing. I'll show you.
Yeah. Yet on the other hand, when people say you amount to nothing, perhaps you don't deserve the luxury of a grave. That is the song when I am just like really down on myself, when I'm like, man, I suck. I should just fucking go shoot myself. That's just, you listen to The Luxury of a Grave and you're like, wow, he thinks he came out of his father's ass. He's just like, I'm not even worth the luxury of a grave. Just fucking throw me in a ditch and let me rot. And so listening to that song, in a way I relate to it, and in a way it makes me feel a little better. So yeah, number 2, Cold White Light, definitely a classic.
I think I know where you're going with your number 1.
You gotta know where I'm going. Where am I going number 1?
Frozen?
Nope. Down.
Warrior of Life?
Warrior of Life. Down was my first Sentence album. I picked it up at Tower Records in Ann Arbor, Michigan, when there was a Tower Records in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And it was just a random purchase. I would go through all the bins looking for new metal, and it's one of those days where I just couldn't find anything that looked interesting. And I saw Sentenced, Down, and it's just a gold cover.
It's a little flower.
Yeah,
a leaf.
Like a leaf on there. I'm like, it doesn't really jump out and grab you. But it was on Century Media, so I was like, well, okay, it's got to be metal then. And I just said, fuck it, and I grabbed it. And by the time I got home, I was listening to the CD in my car. I was like, oh my God, what is this? What kind of Sentenced? What kind of name is that for a band? And it's the band, it's the album that set off my whole obsession with the band Sentenced. And
I'm also the Warrior of Life. I know the Reaper by name.
Yeah. There's definitely some depressing songs on this album. Bleed, Noose.
Oh, that's a good choice for number 1.
The Sun Won't Shine. Oh, come on.
That's a great choice.
Yeah. So, and as I just mentioned to you the other day, I finally got a copy of Down. It's on the way to me on vinyl. Gold, limited to 100 copies. Can't wait.
Yep.
I have one left. I need to get Crimson. That's the only one I don't have on vinyl.
That makes me wonder. It sounds like, I can't think of any, you've told me a lot of stories. Sentenced is probably one of the top bands that was a random just pickup for you.
Oh, yeah.
What an amazing random pickup.
Yeah. It's things like that keep me obsessed with finding new bands, because I'm like, that rush of, wow, what have I just discovered? It's like a drug. And so I'm constantly listening to new music going, where's the next Sentenced? Where's the next Sentenced? And it's one of the things that drives me.
Why do you think, going back to one last thing with Sentenced, that when we go to shows and stuff like that, and we talk to other metalheads, and we do mention Sentenced, why do they always look at us almost puzzled?
Because they don't know who they are.
I know that, but why do you think Sentenced never really...
I don't know. I mean, if you look in like metal magazines and websites and stuff, everybody there knows who Sentenced was. I think it's just, they are not a well-known band in America in terms of typical metal fans. I mean, unless they're an obsessed, compulsive metal collector like we are, they just may not have come across them, especially since they haven't released an album in 9 years.
And of course, they won't.
Nope. Yep. Not gonna.
If you do like what you hear from Villa, you can listen to him in Poison Black now. So
yeah, there's a lot of good Poison Black albums out there. All right, well, we've been talking for a while, and I still have a whole bunch of topics I want to get to, but I think we're going to save that for another episode. So why don't we go ahead and wrap things up, and then we'll play our last song. Make sure to check us out on iTunes. You can subscribe there, so we just show up on your phone or your iPod or whatever. You can check us out on wearemetalheads.com. We're also on Facebook. We're also on Twitter, YouTube.
Yep. Find us on Twitter at metalheadspod. Again, at metalheadspod.
Or Metal Disciple is also on Twitter. Disciple OV Metal, Disciple of Metal. Check me out there. You can get a hold of Buke at Metalheadspod.
Mm-hmm. All I just want to say is, again, thanks to everyone. To me, if we continue just to get one listen, that's enough for me. That's somebody's taking the time to listen. So I want to thank each and everyone who tunes in to listen to this podcast, and please just continue to support us and spread the word.
Yes, we appreciate all of you very much. Thank you for listening. Now for the last song of the podcast. This is another song from Twilights Embrace. This is the song called My Last Breath. Check it out.